If only we did stingers at the beginning of each episode. The Paladins of Voltron is a part of the Soon-to-be-named network and the Transmissions Podcast Network. Check them out at soon-to-be-named-network.com and transmissionspodcast.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paladins of Voltron, an unofficial podcast about the Netflix original series, Voltron Legendary Defender. I am your host, Jason, and this week joining me after taking a sip of his beverage there is Jeremy. Jeremy, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. It was perfect. I faded in us, and there you were. Yeah, because we don't record late or anything.
This is a 4-week-old mocha.
And it still tastes great. All right. Today we'll be talking about episode 4 of season 3. But first, if you'd like to leave us any feedback, of course, you can do it a comment on our website, which is always nice. Or you can do it by email, which is, and I will get it right this time, feedback@povpodcast.com. You can also check us out on Twitter, POV_podcast, or on Facebook, POV Podcast. Just search for us there and you'll find us. Like us. Subscribe to us on your RSS feeder of choice. We have all those links and stuff at the website.
We never mention also YouTube.
Oh, hey, you might be watching this on YouTube. And if you're not, you can watch us on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I add that to the list at some point. By the time we do our final episode of Voltron Legendary Defenders, we're going to have all this down. And we'll have it all there so everyone can watch the next issue or episode that doesn't exist. So,
well, then we can go back to the original series and Voltron
Lord.
Force. And
I feel if we do the original series, we're going to have to just bring someone on for each episode because there's no way that just us talking about that, we're going to go crazy.
Right. We'll do what they did with the Voltron 84 and just pick some of the best episodes.
Well, there you go. And I mean, I hear Pidge's voice in my head from that series, and I just kind of cringe a little bit. So we'll need other people to share in our enjoyment, if you will. All right, so as I said before, this is episode 4 of season 3, Hole in the Sky, written by Tim Hedrick and also directed by Chris Palmer. We begin in the castle where an alarm that none of the human paladins have ever heard before is sounding. Karan states that it is an Aloran distress call. Keith suggests caution, as it could be a trap, but Alora refuses and transports them to the coordinates. They find the ship is half consumed by a ring of energy, and Pidge suggests that they send a probe, which is destroyed once it comes in contact with the portal. Karan realizes the portal is giving off quintessence, say that 10 times fast, which prompts Alora to demand the team form Voltron to go and try to rescue the ship. The combined team is able to pass through, but Karan loses all contact as they are taken to a completely different reality. On the Altean ship, they find the final log as well as the body of the ship's commander, Commodore Trailing. They had been sent by Alora's father to retrieve a comet, much of the same material that Voltron is made out of, but it suddenly created a portal between dimensions, trapping the ship. The team is then surprised by the entrance of Slav and Shiro. However, Slav and Pidge quickly determine that they are from different realities, and they also discover that Shiro is actually a member of the Guns of Gamora, named Sven. 80s references, anyone? More Alteans find the ship, and they are shocked to find Empress Alora on board. Alora and Keith talk to General Hira, while Pidge, Lance, and Hunk go to investigate the comet with the other Alteans. However, they soon discover that the peace the Alteans are enjoying in this reality come at a price, as they surgically brainwash the other species they encounter to remove their free will, enslaving them despite their argument that they cannot be slaves if they have no will to revolt. Sven and Slav reappear, and the Alteans catch them with the paladins and take them hostage. On the bridge, the general is able to convince the princess to activate the ship's systems so they can move it out of the portal. She complies, but soon after, sees the other paladins have been captured. Upon learning of the Alteans' enslavements of others, she decides these are not Alteans to be trusted. They escape to form Voltron and take the comet with them. But as they travel back to their reality, the Altans are able to fire on them, incapacitating Voltron long enough for Lotor to steal the comet, as his plan had been all along. Back on the ship, Allura explains that Lotor is always one step ahead, and they need to know what his plan is for the comet. Okay, so there you have it in a nutshell. There's a little more I can fill in for this one too. This is a very wordy episode, but they do a really good job. It's basically setting up we meet kind of evil versions. We don't get versions of Pidge or any of the other paladins, but we do find Slav in this reality. And of course, we see Shiro, which the moment I saw him and everyone said Shiro, in my head I went, oh no, that's going to be Sven. Sure enough, we got Sven.
It's a mirror universe episode.
It's exactly what it is.
Except Allura doesn't have a goatee.
I'm okay with that, I think. So a lot of what we find out is that in this reality, the Galra Empire has been defeated. It was actually Allura back, I think, or 10,000 years ago. So back when our Allura was basically put to sleep in the castle to try to avoid Zarkon from finding them, her or the Black Lion, in this reality, Allura was able to actually create I guess an empire of her own to take down the Galra. And it's found out that basically they take other species that they encounter, they lobotomy them, kind of. I mean, they go in through like the back of the head, but they take it so that they basically remove their will to want to escape, which is not good. This whole time we have Allura, who's just so happy to see more Alteans that she's kind of glossing over the fact that a lot of this stuff is happening. It isn't really. The whole time we get Keith trying to caution her, and this is pretty much the completion of this arc we've been talking about for these last 4 episodes. Where now Keith is doing Shiro. That's exactly what Shiro would have done. Shiro would have been very, cautious about the whole thing.
And he just is getting over going, without thinking, going right into a situation.
Yes, exactly. So there's a really good give and take there, if you will. And eventually, once Allura finds out what's going on, she confronts General Hira, and they go to escape. A lot of, there's some bad stuff going on in this reality. Usually when shows like this introduce a reality, it's not the only time you ever see said reality. So that'll be interesting. So Jeremy, what were your thoughts on the episode?
Well, you said the last episode was probably your favorite of the series, or at least the season.
Yeah.
This was mine.
Oh, okay.
At least of what we've seen so far. When I saw they're going into another universe and then, saw Shiro, I also was like, oh, if they don't do spin here, they're crazy. And they do.
Yep.
And then you have Slav, which, it completely fits his character because he's pretty much the same in this reality.
Which makes total sense because he's the only one who would know, there's many realities.
Right. So, but then you have Shiro, and so many in-jokes there with Sven.
Yep.
And you have him at the end getting hurt and going to Space Hospital, which is what the U.S. dub of the original show did.
When Sven died or whatever.
Yeah, and Go Lion Sven died. In the U.S. version, they were like, oh, that kids can't handle that. We're going to say he's sent off to Space Hospital.
I lost it when I cracked up when I heard him say that.
Yeah, me too. And then, who knows? Maybe he is at a hospital and he might come back.
Who knows?
I mean, there's the whole Shiro Sven thing is one of the most interesting things I find about this whole series.
Sure.
There's so many mysteries there to find out. And I love that. I love the whole concept of multiverses in general. And that now they've opened this up. Is there a possibility of other multiverses where you see the original Voltron team from the 80s and
you
have multiple Voltrons?
You literally just gave them a reason to do about 30 spin-offs of this show. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I just want to see one episode where you have the 80s Voltron and this Voltron fighting side by side.
Holy crap. I didn't even think about that, dude. Wow. Like, sure, I'd love to see that for like an episode. I don't know if it's a good idea longer. And good luck finding anyone to do Pidge's voice in the other version.
I'm sure Neil Ross can. Well, he didn't do it. Who did Pidge's voice?
Oh God, I don't remember.
I can't. Well, anyway, I love it, and then with the comics they're doing, they could take that and run with it. So, I think they did the multiverse thing really well, and the whole comet thing ties in with there was a comic in the original series that had some mystical properties or something. I can't exactly remember.
Hey, I'm gonna stop you right there. You were right. Neil Ross did do Pete. He did Pidge and Keith in the original.
I could have sworn I remember seeing him at a convention and he still did Pidge's voice.
So everyone, save your emails. No, I'm just kidding.
So, but anyway, there's so many tie-ins with this episode to the 80s series, but still you can see Lotor sees the comet and stuff, and it's like, oh, this is an Altean ship. I'm sure Allura can't resist it.
Nope.
And I'll let them do the heavy lifting of getting this comet.
Yeah, and they even make a reference to the fact that they've actually sent in previous fighters to try to go, and they say that it'll be quite a show because the point is they're trying to. Well, what happens if Voltron doesn't make it through? And Lotor's like, well, either Voltron doesn't make it through, and we don't have to worry about Voltron anymore, or Voltron comes through and we get our comet. Either way, it's a win-win. And the point was that one of his lieutenants was excited because, well, if he blows up, that'll be exciting. I mean, it wasn't exciting for the other fighters we sent him before that it happened to, but it'll be exciting for us.
Right. So I don't know her name, but she just seems to like blowing stuff up.
Oh, no, she wants to kill everyone. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Lotor must really have something. She must either respect Lotor to the nth degree, or Lotor has something that he could just destroy her with at any second. Because that's the kind of character that's really hard to control. I wouldn't. Can you imagine if they do a whole episode of just like this team, like the lieutenants coming together or something? Mm-hmm. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I want to get their backstories.
Oh God, yes, they're fascinating characters. I definitely want to hear that. Now I do want to say this is a good episode. Like, I'm not trying to downplay it as.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
There are some people on networks we're involved with where if there's not a lot of punching, they don't like what goes on in media. But to be fair, I have been agreeing with that person a lot lately. Anyways, my point is that there's a lot brought up in this episode, and it's heady stuff, and it's really, really good.
And this is turning into a good sci-fi show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I mean, I love the whole Altean Empire concept, and basically they're even worse than the Galra in the main universe,
right?
Because the Galra the Galra subjugates people, but they don't lobotomize them.
No, even Zarkon won't do that.
Right.
Meanwhile, the Alteans are like, yeah, pull out part of their brain. It's cool. And they hand wave it like, oh no, they're not slaves. Slaves would want to escape. They can't do that, so they're not slaves.
Yeah.
What? How is that even a thought process? Oy vey.
Yeah, and then you gotta wonder what happened to Voltron in this universe, or was it even a thing?
Well,
I can't remember if they mentioned it.
I don't think that they didn't, and I think that this reality doesn't have a Voltron. Because the way it's definitely played is that the ship was from the reality our Voltron is from, and it was just getting sucked into this other reality.
Right.
If it were the other way around, then yeah, there would have been a lot of hand waving that away, because the log specifically said they went to go get the comet for King Alfor, which he'd only know about it because of what happened with Voltron.
Right.
From the comet. So yeah, if they didn't come from our reality, then the show really screwed up, and that's not something the show does. So I'm pretty sure that's the way it's supposed to be.
Cool.
Yeah, and I alluded to this, I think, in our first episode of the season, but the big arcs, obviously this is Allura with what goes on with her finding more Altaians. And you can understand how, like, even though Keith is pleading with her to be cautious, she's meeting her kind for the first time and, since she's woken up, basically. I can understand how that would be really hard to, listen to reason at that point.
Yeah.
And, what they did with Keith in these 4 episodes, mostly the first 3, if they had gone on with Keith just being a terrible leader for too long, it would have, I think, hurt the show a bit. Just because eventually you got to be like, look, realize when you're being dumb. And they did it the perfect amount of time. The first time I watched through the first 3 episodes, I thought, they almost pushed the limit. But the second time I watched through them, knowing what happens, I was like, oh no, they planned this out perfectly.
Yeah, their timing on a lot of the character beats has been great.
Yeah. In this episode, like, Allura is all in with everything, and then she hears, wait, slaves? And it's like, okay, no, we're not doing slaves here, people. That's not okay.
Right.
And then we find out what her Bayard can do, like her weapon, the weapon it forms, like that chain sword or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it's a sword per se, but
which is weird because when Lance used it, it became a gun.
Well, and I think that's what we're seeing, because Lance now has the red Bayard and it becomes a gun. Keith has the black Bayard, so the Bayard becomes whatever weapon the paladin wants.
Right.
Which, and to this point, I don't know if they've ever discussed that. Like when they first
have we seen what the black one does? Because Shiro didn't have it.
No, Shiro didn't get it until the last episode of last season, when he could then activate the flaming sword. So, yeah, and this is the thing, they're not highlighting it or anything. Mm-hmm. And boy, did I roll my R there. Holy cow. But it's just, and I noticed that when I watched it again, I was like, yeah, Keith has a red gun. Keith had a blue gun. This is the weapon that the paladin wants, I guess. So that's interesting.
Right.
And yeah, I love freaking Allura's, like, because it's, I guess it most resembles Pidge's with like the not quite crossbow, but like the bow with the string or the rope to it.
Yeah. Which
she uses with fantastic fashion this episode when she stops Sven from stabbing Keith. So yeah, it's a really cool weapon, and Allura can fight. There's no doubt about it. She might have trouble learning how to buy the line, but she is good at making sure she can kick some butt. So all good there, for sure. And they get that last shot at the end. Voltron is incapacitated, and Lotor has his comet, and that's probably not going to be a good thing.
No.
Will we see a Dark Voltron? Is that where we're heading, you think?
Probably.
There's 5 with Lotor and his lieutenants. There's 5 of them.
Yeah. Too bad they don't have more of them, and it could be a way to bring in vehicle Voltron.
Now you just sound like Headmaster Don. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I know, but I can see him doing some dark version of Voltron. I think, we saw essentially Zarkon was trying to do the same thing, but with like a single suit in the last season. With Lotor being more tactically minded, and he has these lieutenants, I think he's going to try to do something like make 5 ships that combine.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, boy, I think you're really looking at like a vehicle. That might be how they pull that in, just a dark version of that.
Well, if it just resembles vehicle Voltron, maybe, but
sure.
I don't know.
Or, you did bring up Zarkon's suit. We could see him actually just fortify Zarkon's suit, which would make it much harder for them to defeat.
Yeah. But he seems to value the abilities of his lieutenants.
Yeah.
And I could see him wanting to exploit that even with a Voltron-like suit.
Yeah, I'm just mentioning it because I was reminded of the suit when you said it. I'm going to be we called Sven. I think most people called Sven, but we'll still take credit. Is anyone else on this YouTube channel taking credit? Nope, we are. Yeah, this could be vehicle Voltron, man. We might be seeing it.
Actually, honestly, I still think that the Galaxy Alliance on Earth is going to try to do a vehicle Voltron.
Oh, really?
After just kind of seeing the Lion I mean, I think ultimately they're going to be the ones that do it, but I do think Lotor would do some sort of dark Voltron or some other creatures that, robots that look like other creatures.
Well, Jeremy bringing the theories, my friend. Holy cow. You're thinking.
Yeah.
This must be what you think about in the shower while I'm thinking about what happened to Optimus Prime's cab when he disappears.
Yeah, stuff like this. Yeah.
Exactly. Not about the fact it's 5:30 in the morning and I just want to go back to bed. So, all right. Yeah. Anything else we missed from this one?
No, I'm looking forward to more shows.
Yeah. Yeah, this is our little insider baseball. This is our first little clip of episodes we're recording. So expect new shirts next time. Maybe.
Maybe. I have a couple of these.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'll have time to do laundry between now and next month.
Yeah. I hope so. But I mean, I remember very vaguely. I remember very much what happens in the final episode because that was a bit of contention with some people. So we'll talk about that. Maybe not the episode you should end on. I'm not going to say I agree with that, but we'll see. But the next two, I'm really looking forward to remembering, or seeing them again and remember what happened. I know that there's some plot tie-ins to last season, which are nice that we'll be getting to. So look forward to that. So, okay. Well, everyone, like we said, feel free to leave a comment, on this episode or any of the places we mentioned earlier, be it, feedback at POV Podcast or, on Twitter, POV_podcast. And don't forget, we are a member of not one, but two networks. We are a member, of course, of the Transmissions Podcast Network, where, of course, you'll hear Transmissions. There you go. It's on the shirt, everybody. Can't miss it. And check them out because they now have a new show only for Patreons. So go in there and throw them a couple bucks. It's totally worth it. Where you'll get their Declassified show. I was actually on the first one they ever did, which is why I think they decided to do more. Has to be it. But definitely check that one out because if you want to hear someone who isn't crapping on the live action movies, I do my best. I do my best.
Yeah, and then Last Night came out.
I honestly, I thought Last Night was probably the second best movie, but I digress. Everyone else who saw it didn't because they didn't make enough money, but. And of course, we are also part of the Soon to Be Named Network. Check them out at soon-to-be-named-network.com, where you find such heavy hitters as Long Box Heroes, Long Box Heroes After Dark. And I'll mention Povagacy as a hard hitter because it's a show I host. So if I want to say it's a hard hitter, I'm going to say that because I host it. So, all right, that's it for me. For Jeremy, this is Jason.
Yep.
And we are going to go ahead and say goodbye, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Later.